Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Let me make sure that I am on. I am extremely late. I kept changing the time. I had a feeling that was going to happen. It looks like nobody's watching. So I'll keep waiting. If you happen to be watching this on the replay, just skip ahead to when I start talking. If you happen to be watching this on the replay. All right. I decided not to use my microphone again like I did last night because it was like messing up. So I decided not to use it again. So I don't know. I think that is just me today. And that's fine because I'm about to get started. Okay, somebody started watching. So hello to everybody who's coming on. So we are going to go into a little bit more of a deep dive of what's going on with our conflicts, multiple conflicts in the Middle East and why we are at this point. So last night I had to jump back on, like I did a live yesterday, originally on conservatives losing their mind, giving up the constitutional First Amendment and everything else that they can give up just for the sake of looking like heroes, okay? Like we did with the Patriot Act, right? I thought we learned from that. But so I did that space, and then when I turned it off, I went back and all I saw was this breaking news. Hey, Goat, thank you for coming through that. And I saw this breaking news, like, oh, we have airstrikes in Iran or at Iran proxies. So I'm like, I have to go back on live again. So I went back on live and we listened to Mario, and I had read like some updates on that. So we have two conflicts going on in the Middle East. So this is going to be a short live. I'm going to just play a couple things for you guys so you can know like what's happening. And when I speak that, I have sources that I get stuff from. So we'll start off first with our conflict with Iran. And let me just give you an introduction as to why this is. First of all, we have to talk about it because it's happening in the world, and we are implicated in something that we didn't ask to be a part of, but our establishment, America, is getting involved in something, and then it affects the whole world, right? So this is going to affect a lot of things, our pockets, but I don't have to consistently like say why it's important to know. It's important to know because it effectively stops everything. If we go into some big war, do you think there's going to be an election? Like, like Speaker of the House, all of this goes down a drain a little bit. So, and it's crazy because, Tucker Carlson, he was like, these people will wage a war just to keep power. They'll wage a war just to keep power. And I was thinking that too, but I never expected it to be under these, I didn't expect it to be this way. So our situation, I'll give you a quick synopsis of what I was thinking, and then I'm going to play a little bit of the Duran so you guys can hear them explain it in better detail than me. So this is the thing. I've been talking about BRICS for so long on this channel, especially last year. I've been talking about BRICS. I kind of stopped talking about certain things because, I feel like if I document it, it's there, then like we've talked about it, right? So BRICS is that international community like alliance with Brazil, China, Russia, India, and South Africa. They've come together to make like a group, kind of like a G20 group with trading goods, and just being able to make a new monetary system so that they don't have to rely on the American dollar. The thing about the American dollar is that it comes with a lot of responsibility and pressure and force that people don't ask for, right? So if you're taking aid from America, you have to take their ideology too. Now, obviously, we're not talking about the citizens. We're talking about the establishment who gives the aid, like Obama, who held back aid from, I believe it was Niger, because he didn't like their LGBT policies. So he told him, like, you're not going to get the aid until you make, LGBT people safe. Like, so this is the type of value we've been, trying to give to people in other countries and saying that these are American values. And then we've been holding money in front of them, like, as like leverage, right? So people get tired of that after a while, where they're like, yo, I don't need this money under these kind of pretenses, So okay, now you have these countries coming together. Plus, we have Joe Biden, who is the president, who is totally weak, totally not diplomatic at all, and not America first either. So, but just this guy who acts like a tough guy. I don't know, like acts like a tough guy, disrespects all the leaders of other countries. So they don't even like him as a person. The difference with Trump when he was president, he talked to everybody. He talked to everybody in what I would imagine. He talked to everybody. Hey, Metalopoly. He talked to everybody in what I imagine would be a diplomatic, not like uh not like not like talking like sweet and nice and everything else, like no, but in a diplomatic, I respect you, you respect me kind of thing, but my country comes first. Other countries understood this, like China. He started adding tariffs and stuff, but I always heard like, we're going to go to war with China. We're going to go to war with China. We didn't go to war with China. What's up, General Vay? What is up? Everybody, please hit the like button. Please hit the like button. Get me out there, because the information I'm talking about is, that is that real inconvenient truth. So, I'm suppressed. Thank you, everybody. So, yeah, everybody kept saying we're going to go to war with China over these tariffs, and we didn't go to war with China because China understood that, in a diplomatic way, like, America has to think of America first and not be rude. He didn't have to say it rudely. He didn't. He dealt with them. But anyway, we're under this new regime, so everything went out the window. We are not energy independent. And for the fools who tell me that we are, I'm like, I'm confused as to how, with the gas prices not being what they were when Trump left office, and then when Biden came in, they already started going sky high, So we're basically here, like, we're weakening by the second. So, but people want, all we have is that petrodollar. If you really think about it, they want all of it. And what happened was, when we told Russia, I remember when Joe Biden said, the ruble's going to turn into ruble. I said, that ruble is about to gain value is what's going to happen. Because I know when this guy talks, he's a liar. Okay, so everything he says, it's the opposite. Okay. So when he said that, I said, here we go. In the beginning, when they sanctioned Russia from everything, Russia did feel it. They did go through, their whatever disparities they had to go through, but it forced them to kind of gain their independence back, if you will, not rely on that American money. So they didn't crumble. Russia's still standing today. They're not going hungry. You don't see lines around the corner in Russia. You don't hear, and I watch Russian news, you don't hear people complaining about, the groceries they got. We had 2 bags worth, 2 bags of groceries for like $400 and you don't hear that kind of stuff. I'm not saying it's perfect over there, but it's not what people think. I'm sure there's a lot of people who think like, yeah, it's probably terrible to live in Russia. I didn't really look bad to me when I saw videos. I'm not saying, I'm just saying, like, we need to have a sense of reality when we talk about this stuff. Like, this notion of like, yeah, we're going to go get the big bad Russia. I understand that was a thought back in the day, but this is 2023. We are dealing with different governments. Anyway, but Russia became the example. Hey, guys, you can let go of this American chain, okay? And you will be okay. And what's even better is we could build a system where we all make sure we're okay and we leave them in the back. When I found out about BRICS, I was very concerned. I was like, oh, okay. After a while, you keep bullying a bunch of people, they're going to say, let's get our stuff together and we're going to just have each other's back, right? So BRICS was, talking and, so I remember that, and you hear all this stuff about China and everything. I don't know what to believe. I'll just say that. But I remember when Iran and Saudi Arabia, all of a sudden, they had a rapprochement. Okay. China had, done a deal with Iran and Saudi Arabia, 2 countries that had not talked for a long time for whatever reason. I don't know everything in history, but he got the leaders to sit at the table. China, Xi Jinping, to sit at the table and talk. Look, let's get this money, okay? Around that time when that was happening, you know what we were talking about in America? We were talking about Donald Trump had dinner with Kanye West and Nick Fuentes, okay? Now Donald Trump is anti-Semitic. I remember that. So like I remember I made a video. I was like, guys, like, are we seriously going to talk about his dinner dates? Like, we need to get back to we need to talk about America. There's countries are coming together about this money. whatever. And I remember saying in one of my videos, I was like, get ready, you're going to start hearing stuff about Iran. Be very clear. I do not live in Iran. I do not know the people of Iran. I don't know what they're up to, but I know how my regime acts when they have a little apple in their eye. They don't start, they never forget that little apple in their eye. I keep telling people, remember, Trump was supposed to bomb Iran and he didn't. Because he knew it would have been a war crime, first of all. He was supposed to bomb Iran over some unmanned drone. Let's talk about that. And then he also knew, I know in Trump's mind, he was like, why should we make enemies of these people when we can still hold some leverage through goods and trades, right? And still keep America on top. We take care of ourselves. We build the value of our money. We can invest in other countries through infrastructure. And actually, that's how you really conquer the world. The thing about me is that even though, I'm a female, right? I'm a woman. I'm not this emotional woman who's like, no, we should just leave everybody. No, that's okay. And that, no, we don't need to come. I don't mind being on top. I don't mind being on top. I remember in America that was on top. Sadly, we were getting on top on things that didn't have foundations. Sadly, we were getting on top through bullying. But of course, I would want to be on top. I'm American. But I want to be on top through influence with trade, with bringing real values to other countries, right? You can't change other countries and say, you need to stop your Sharia law or you need to stop doing. That's how they do it over there, right? That's because not everybody can handle democracy. As a Haitian, I can tell you that's true. America brought democracy to Haiti, and that is when all bets were off. They were used to dictatorship, and it worked there. That's when the streets were clean. That's when people could go to Haiti and actually have vacation in Haiti. Okay, so not every country can work like America does. America is America the Great for a reason. You can't just. It's not going to work everywhere else. But anyway, I definitely digress. So now, when I heard Iran was coming in with, talking to Saudi Arabia, I said, no way. These people have Saudi Arabia, Iran, all that. They have a lot of oil, all of that. So if they're coming together with BRICS and we're begging Saudi Arabia for oil, I said, this is not going to be good for America. It definitely isn't good for the people. They don't care about us. These greedy people, though, they don't like it. They have this sick power, like, oh, we have to be on top. Again, that's cool, but not in this basis of bullying, right? Okay. Because the American citizen doesn't want this. We don't want this. And so now, I got to learn about a bunch of different histories and different policies and stuff. I'm a nurse. I'm trying to keep up with everything, So anyway, and then, like I said, there was going to be issues. And then when I heard that Syria, for everything that happened with Assad, and I don't remember everything that was going on in Syria, but I know that they wanted to do a regime change over there, and it didn't work. And Assad is still the president over there in Syria, and they are recognizing the Arab League as a sovereign country. And guess what? They're getting ready to get involved with BRICS, Egypt, a lot of countries want to go into BRICS. So I said, pretty soon something is going to pop off, but I'm not sure when and how and everything. Okay, so you have these countries together. Now, Iran's been the apple of their eye. Let's fast forward to October 7th. October 7th, there was a tragic terroristic attack that happened in Israel. Okay, that happens. So I'm over here trying to get my bearings and figure out, okay, what's going on, what's happening in Israel. Ron DeSantis gets up and he says, we're going to defend Israel 100%, whatever. Then he says, and we need to stand up to Iran. I said, oh, man. I was like, they're going to connect Iran without evidence to this situation, without evidence. Again, I'm not saying these people are innocent angels, but I'm like, but I know how the playbook goes. And didn't they, all of them start connecting Iran? Joe Biden, everybody, they all connecting Iran. Now, we have troops in Syria, okay? We actually sent 2,000 more troops in Syria this year, okay? And I remember being in my car reading this like, why are we doing that? We are illegally occupying Syria. under like UN laws, like we are illegally occupying Syria. There's no basis for us to be in Syria and Iraq, for real, for real. There isn't. What are we doing? Fighting ISIS? No. It's just the truth, right? So this, I knew this was coming. So the Syrian government, Syria, who works with Iran and Russia, they all three, they said they want America off or out of Syria, and things are going to get things are going to start getting heated if it doesn't work. If it doesn't, if they don't get out, things are going to get worse. That's what they said. They said we want the Americans out. I remember Matt Gaetz. He went on Congress and he pulled up a vote like, "Yo, we got to get our troops out of Syria. They're sitting ducks in Syria. Why are they in Syria? At least to start there." And guess what? Everybody voted against him. Okay. I mean, maybe like 19 people voted with him. Right. And I remember thinking too, I said, this is not good to have, troops in Syria right now with all these countries coming together, like sitting ducks. This is dangerous. Some people's kids, bring them back home now. So every terroristic thing that's happening, whatever, Hamas, whoever, they say somehow Iran is funding them. And maybe in the past they were, but we don't have the evidence to say that they are now. I tell you who did fund them in the past now. In the past, America, Israel's funded Iran, Hamas at some point. They use these what they call moderate rebels when they need to for their own thing. They use them here and there, but then it gets out of control. Or are they still using them? I don't know. Yesterday, one of our bases in Syria was attacked. Okay. Now, one person died from a heart attack, and then the other people that were injured, but they're okay. Lloyd Austin says that we had to strike back. That's not the first time they were attacked, though. This isn't the first time this has happened, by the way. So why does it matter now? Because it's all connected. Okay, so we have our troops there. They need to go. By the way, there's Iranian troops there too, but they want them there. So now America says we got to go attack Iranian proxy militia. It's Iranian connected. These are the kind of words that they use, right? And so it's all coming back to basically this. They want the power. They know that BRICS is getting ready. Next year, BRICS is getting ready to skyrocket. They had to put a stop to this. The fact that Saudi Arabia, Iran were coming together. I don't really know how Israel didn't get their hands. Well, the Arab countries don't really want them there. But, because trust me, they don't have a problem. They work with China. That's supposed to be our ally, but they work with China. They've given them some of our secrets, whatever. But here we are today. So there's that part of the war. So we'll start with that, and then we'll segue into what's going on in Gaza right now and the realities of that. And we are implicated in all of it. And you can feel how you want to feel or don't feel how you want to feel, but reality is reality. And that's it. And while you was home trying to go to work, come home, take care of your kids, and do the best you can and everything else, these people have been playing, like some sort of chess with your life, with your money, with your tax dollars. Nobody asked us how we felt about troops in Syria or Iran or none of that. Nobody asked us about any of this. They just do what they want. Okay, so let's get into, let me go find what I was listening to the Duran, because they'll explain it a little bit better. They'll explain it a lot better than me. But like I said, a lot of this stuff, I already felt it coming. And this is definitely like a big topic for a Friday night, right? So that's why I'm going to try to make this as short as possible, because I don't want to take up your Friday with this. And then tomorrow night I'll be on Hypnotic Show. And then I think Sunday I'm just going to do like a fun live. Just do like a live about like, I don't know, something fun, maybe relationships or something like that. Because, I understand that we can't, it's a lot, it's a lot. So I don't want to oversaturate you guys with all this information, but we do need to know what's going on so we could be better prepared. So, and again, look, General, I hear you. General, it's funny you say that, though. I'm highly skeptical about any Muslim country being the good guys when every single Muslim-dominated region in the world is barbaric and Hamas literally translates to violence. We can't, but that's so broad because, they could say that about us. We fund those militias. They could say that about us. Trump said it. Trump was like, we have killers too. We're not so good, And look, I I when I say we, us, the citizens who don't know anything about what's going on, yeah. Like, yeah, you're right. But after a while, like, I see the pattern. I see where this goes. This is the same playbook. Remember Kuwait? Babies in incubators, right? That's what they told us. The Kuwaiti soldiers came out. They were ripping babies out of incubators and tossing them on the ground. Oh my God, the American people said, we got to go to war. We got to go, to, what was it, Desert Storm or something like that. Gulf. I was so young when this happened, right? Like, we get lied to so much. And there's been this propaganda, right? If you want to get, for a second, if we want to get like not to say religious, but you're saying some awesome things. The playbook right now seems like it's all religiously driven. People's opinions are basically all about how they feel about Jews and Muslims. And it should not necessarily be about that, because I'm gonna tell you who is not about like that, who is not about excuse me, is the establishment. They don't give a damn about whose religion is. They tell you not to like Muslims. That's not what they don't. Hamas is bad, and I'm not saying they good. So we got to get high around here to stick to Muslims, right? That's how they try to get it. Like, yeah, let's round the troops together again. We're gonna go get, and we did this in 2003. We did this, right? We're gonna go get the Taliban. And we was there like, yeah, go get the Taliban. After we saw what we saw, how could you not feel that way, right? And then as time goes on, you realize, like, there's nothing people won't allow to happen or do to get you to a point that they want to get you in. But the fact is, we've been propagandized to have an issue with religions. Those are the three major Abrahamic religions: Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. All children of Abraham, right? Father Abraham, okay? None of us should hate each other, to be honest. I don't feel a way towards Jewish people. No, I have a problem with corruptional government in any country, right? I don't feel a way towards Muslims. When I talk to Muslims, especially Sunni Muslims, and me as a Saturday worshiper who should not be on here right now, you see Ben Shapiro, he's at home. He's not turning on the telephone. I'm over here going live. I should not. This is the Sabbath. But when I talk to Sunni Muslims, we have a lot of things in common. Here's real quick. Let me just debunk something for people too. We are hold on. So let me just debunk something too. And the Quran can say what it says, but to be honest, until like that time comes, if there's this prophecy and that happens, I'll be ready to deal with it then. Let me just debunk one last thing. A lot of people think like, oh, because I used to think it too, like Muslims, they don't believe in Jesus. They believe in different. No, they do believe Jesus is real. They think that he was the highest prophet. They think that he's God's favorite. They just don't believe that he was crucified. They think that he's already in heaven with Allah, God. And that's just how you say God in Arabic. And they just believe that because he was so good, God didn't want him to go through all of that pain and suffering. So it wasn't him going through that. And he's already in heaven with God. Okay. So they do believe in Jesus. They just don't believe they're saved through Christ. Christians, we believe we're saved through Christ. We know that's our covenant. That's our promise, because the promise of God is not for just one group of people. You know what I'm saying? So we know we're saved through Christ. Christ died for our sins. Jewish people, they don't believe that Jesus was, and look, I don't get mad when Ben Shapiro necessarily says that Jesus was a Jew who had fundamental problems and tried to lead a rebellion. That's how some of them think about it, right? So I understand that's like, I just don't like when people laugh about it. I think that, like, I'm like, dad, like, I don't laugh about other people's religions, but I have to understand that people are not me. But that's not, like, we're all children of Israel. Okay? Like, seriously, we are. We are, because Jacob, like, Jacob had sons, all his sons. No, we're not all children. They come through Esau, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me. Okay. But Father Abraham is the main person. You know what I'm saying? So that's why they call us the three Abrahamic religions. People can be corrupt. The first book was the Bible. And Jewish people will be like, well, it was the Old Testament. Yeah, and then the New Testament too. Okay. So People can be corrupt. People can corrupt anything. People can corrupt nursing. People can corrupt teaching. People can corrupt anyone. I mean, we see it today. We see it today. So of course, people could take the word of God and do whatever they want with it, right? Because and then when you said the Quran literally calls for them Metalopoli to either convert the world by the sword or kill non-Muslims. It's not saying Israeli government is better, but yeah, the Quran probably caused them to do that. But what's happened in Gaza after, and I'm not making any excuses, but I really urge people to really look into Norman Finkelstein. I really urge people to really go in and look at the history of that area. This is not new, okay? Like what we saw on Saturday, like there's been thousands of Palestinians murdered and everything. Like this is real. It just simply is the truth. Okay. There's been a messy history back there that we shouldn't have had anything to do with, but we are implicated in creating it from 1948. I am not that good with that part of the history. So I'm still doing my research. You know, this weekend I decided to stay home just to get all my facts in and take it all in, you know, because I'm living in America. I never thought about Gaza. I didn't think about all this stuff, you know. But and then when you say this again, I just don't see three religions finding a peaceful solution. This has been going on for centuries. Maybe they won't, but that in the meantime, that doesn't mean that we feel some type of way about our Jewish and Muslim brothers and sisters. Seriously, just because they're Jewish and Muslim, no, we cannot. No, I disavow that completely. You know, I'm not saying go love a bunch of Muslims that you don't know, nor am I saying go love a bunch of Jewish people you don't know, right? But when you meet them, if you get to talk, this is how too I woke up to the fact that not everything was racism after a while. In 2020, I went to this small town called Danville in Philadelphia. Small town. I probably was like the second Black person in the town. And people kept saying, you can't go to those towns. You're Black. You can't go to those towns. And I was like, I first of all refuse to live like under those kind of pretenses that because I'm Black, I can't go somewhere. I thought we fought for this not to be true of what's going on. But I went there for travel nursing. I will say, I was like, oh my God, like it really is not that many Black people here. Some of the nicest people I ever met. Oh my God. And we talked about real things. We talked about biases and racism and everything. And, you know, the anti-whiteism, my God, it was a great experience, you know, and I'm not saying again, go ahead and open your doors and start letting everybody in. No, I am not saying that. But I'm just saying the pretenses, like we don't, you know, like we don't do that because, like, again, I say, just like a Jew, I'm supposed to be off of this live right now and praying somewhere. I am totally disrespecting the Sabbath right now, you know? So it's just all types of things. But for real, for us Christians, you see how you said Muslims said they're supposed to convert people? Christians, we really are supposed to convert everybody. That is mission number one. That's what we are supposed to be doing. That's how you save the children of Israel. That's how you bless the children of Israel. You're supposed to convert them to Christianity. That's supposed to be the main mission. All right. Let me get back to, let me find the Duran. But I love this conversation. I absolutely thank you guys. Like y'all are the bomb. Like I absolutely love this conversation and where it went. You know, because this stuff is like, one thing I will say about this conflict, all of these conflicts, because, you know, I'm looking at footage that's coming out of Gaza and stuff. And yeah, my heart does go out to those people over there because I don't live like them. I couldn't last a second over there. And I know I couldn't. Like, I get mad when there's too much traffic outside, for crying out loud. Like, that's why when Black folk in America talk, yeah, we need to be liberated like the Palestinians. And I'm like, shut up. Like, you don't know anything about that kind of struggle. You wouldn't last half a second over there. So when I see the stuff coming out of there and I'm like, dang, man, that's sad, bro. Like, that's just sad. Thousands and thousands or whatever. I'm like, you know, like, what is the point of this, God? Like, tell me. So in the name of God, I'm like, well, I'm going to just use this to talk about God. So I appreciate you guys kind of pulling that conversation in there like that. I really do. Because this is the topic. This is the main topic. It is the Lord, our creator, our creator, you know, it's not about religion either. It's like connection to your creator. Literally, we're going to need that more and more to it. Everything getting ready to happen, you're going to have to connect to your creator. Okay. All right. So let me present, and shout out to DJ because he said, I like information. Cause I was like saying like, I feel like I'm saying a bunch of information, but, thank you for saying that. I just don't want to feel like I'm bombarding people, and I never want to feel like I'm doing fear mongering, because that is not the reason for this channel at all. You know, we just share the inconvenient truth. And y'all know I love sharing my boys from the Duran. I'm still praying to God one day that I could be the third person on this show. Like, hey guys, so I think what's happening is X, Y, Z. But until then, I just share, their clip. We're not gonna watch the whole thing. We're gonna watch maybe the first 5 minutes. They kind of break things down pretty good. Because this is what they do. These are geopolitical analysts. Okay, they're not on Twitter getting emotional. This is what they do. And my beliefs, my assessments are not of the Durans. The Duran does not represent me. I like what they say. I don't represent the Duran. I'm not connected to the Duran. I just like to put them on. I like to say that too, because for legal purposes, not to get anything twisted. All right, let's get it started.
All right, Alexander, let's talk about the airstrikes on Syria. Lloyd Austin and the Pentagon, they have said that these airstrikes were done in self-defense. And as we reported on the other day, it looks like we are heading towards some sort of wider conflict. And things are getting very, very dangerous and very scary at this moment. Before you talk about these airstrikes, in my video yesterday, I took a clip from Biden's press conference with the Australian Prime Minister Albanese. And Biden said something very interesting when he was asked by reporters about the military hardware and the aircraft carriers that are moving into the region, and the possibility of U.S. strikes towards Iran or Syria. And Biden said this, and I'm not sure if I'm going to get his quote exactly right, but he said that he is warning Iran and the Ayatollah. And then he said, this has nothing to do with Israel, or this is not about Israel. That's what Biden said as he was answering these questions from reporters during this press conference. Anyway, I just wanted to say that because I think Biden might have gone a little bit off script there by saying this. But this doesn't have to do with Israel. This is not a deterrent force that is moving into the Mediterranean, and these strikes on Syria, I don't think there's a connection to Israel there either, though the Pentagon said this was in self-defense with the strikes against the U.S. forces that are illegally occupying the north of Syria. Anyway, your thoughts on these events?
Yeah. This is all becoming increasingly disturbing and very ominous. And just to say this, there have been American airstrikes in Syria before, as you absolutely correctly say. The United States is not there with the permission of the Syrian government, which is still the internationally recognized Syrian government, and a Syrian government that is now so recognized and readmitted to the Arab League, and which represents Syria at the United Nations. So there's no doubt at all about the legality and legitimacy of the Syrian government, but the United States has troops in eastern Syria without the permission of that government and without authorization from the UN Security Council. So the presence of these troops in Syria is, as you also correctly say, illegal. It is a violation of Syrian sovereignty. So that's the first point to make. The second is that the United States deployed those troops in eastern Syria purportedly in order to fight the various Islamist groups that, ISIS first and foremost. In fact, it was largely justified on the basis of fighting ISIS and other groups like that in Syria. And of course, one can always be cynical about this, but when the United States tended to launch airstrikes in the past, it tended to be directed against those particular groups. The latest airstrikes, the ones that Lloyd Austin was talking about, were not directed at these type of Islamist groups. They were directed at what would appear to be Iranian assets or Iranian-aligned groups within Syria, of which we know there is within which, as we know, Iran has a substantial presence.
Okay, so I just got to give a quick shout out to my girl Melanie who came through. Thank you for coming through. Says U.S. has been on a regime changing crusade for years now. U.S. government is still trying to do yes, like why? That's what we do. You know, that's what U.S. government
A
does.
substantial presence, by the way, in agreement with the Syrian government. So this is an attack on Iranian installations and Iranian aligned installations in Syria, within Syria. It therefore targets both Syria and ultimately Iran. And that is the nature of the development we are seeing now. And that does appear to lead to a completely new stage of this conflict. Now, Lloyd Austin talks about this being an act of defense. The United States regularly says that. I mean, if you go back to the attack on Iraq, for example, in 2003, that also was described as an attack based upon the doctrine of preemptive defense. I don't think we can take this particularly seriously. What is clearly happening is that there is a very major build-up, and it is increasingly clear that the countries that are this build-up is directed against. We've talked about this build-up in recent programs. The aircraft carriers, the military troops that are being deployed on the ground, the surface-to-air missiles that are being deployed, all of this is clearly now focused on Iran. Now, President Biden has blurted out this admission that this is not about the current conflict in Israel. And yesterday, in my program, I discussed an article by Sir Ivor Roberts, who is a former British diplomat, an ambassador, in fact, in the Daily Telegraph. And he spoke about the fact that the concentrations, these movements against Iran, are driven by something in part that is different. And that is concerns that Iran's nuclear program has now developed to the point where Iran is very close to being able to develop nuclear weapons. And that this is what is really driving all of these, this huge buildup. It's all about that. So that ties in exactly with what you were saying about what Biden said over the course of that press conference. It is increasingly looking as if the United States is using the current crisis in the Middle East in order to resolve this problem that the United States has had with Iran in the Middle East since the Islamic Revolution of 1975. They hope once and for all. And what is driving this, particularly now, according to people like Sir Ivor Roberts, is concern that the Iranian nuclear program is close to fruition, which would mean, obviously, if it were ever to reach that fruition, that these kind of conventional strikes against Iran would no longer become possible. So that's, I think, where we are.
So what about the JC? I mean, in other words, this is all about weapons of mass destruction. I mean, it seems like where we're heading towards, right? Iran's about to get a nuclear weapon in Iraq. Iraq has chemical, biological weapons, whatever, weapons of mass destruction, anthrax that Colin Powell was holding up at the UN meeting. So here we are.
All right, so just keep, stay with them. Don't leave now, because like when I first did watch this, I was like, wait, what? That Iran nuclear deal is actually about to be finished, because I've been hearing this for years. So just, keep watching. Just keep watching, because there's more to the game always. But
we are again. This is going to be done. This war with Iran is going to be done in order to preempt them from finishing their nuclear weapons. We had the JCPOA.
Yeah, we had the JCPOA, which the Biden administration said it would rejoin, but it never did. And the JCPOA prevented Iran from developing nuclear weapons and created a whole system of having observers, monitors in Iran from the International Atomic Energy Agency. It brought
Which they abided by.
Which they abided by, exactly. And of course, we've also had successive reports from the US intelligence community, which have been unchanged. They go back now more than a decade, which say that Iran is not currently pursuing a nuclear weapons program, that they see no evidence that Iran at the moment is actually working towards developing nuclear weapons. They do have a nuclear enrichment program. In other words, they're building up, they're enriching nuclear materials to the level that would enable them to obtain a stockpile of material that they could use if they wanted to develop nuclear weapons. But as I understand, and I'm not an engineer or a physicist or any of those things, but as I understand, it would still take them quite a long time from reaching that point before they developed an actual nuclear device. It would be not just months, but apparently years. This is what I have been told and understand, whereby you could convert that material into an actual nuclear bomb. And long before that happened, the United States and Israel and the Western countries would be able to pick up evidence of it. So
if you hear what he said closely, like, because at first when I heard this, I was like, wait a minute now, do they have a nuclear weapon? Which, I mean, not to be, countries are going to have nuclear weapons. Eventually they will. So, but I was like, now, wait a minute now. But this is one reporter on the Telegraph saying that it's coming to fruition. But they're telling you that there's been investigations, like they've invited people to come in and see, like, no, we don't have a nuclear weapon for now. Yet, I don't know, but for now. So that's not the story. Like, oh, Iran has a nuclear weapon. And I don't think the Biden administration will ever come out and say something like that, like to get the American people to agree to go to war, because they know that they would certainly be implicated in something like that, with the Obama situation with Iran and everything. So I don't think that's what they'll use on us, really, to say like, oh, we got to go to war. But I don't know what countries have a bunch of nuclear everything. This is why you keep things under control, so we don't get to that point where we're talking about all this. Because somebody was able to do it for some reason for at least, when did he come in? 2017. Okay, so he did bomb Syria at least from like 2018 to 2020. There wasn't any of this kind of talking for real most of 2017. So how come one person was able to keep things under control?
Withstanding this advice from the US intelligence community, and notwithstanding the fact that there was the available route of the JCPOA, which, as I said, the Biden administration said it would rejoin, but never did. Notwithstanding all of that, we're now told that there are worries about the fact that Iran is coming close to developing a nuclear bomb, and that this is ultimately what is driving all of this. I have to say, I think an even bigger reason, probably the true reason, is that Iran has made some very strong diplomatic moves recently, which have materially improved its position, and which undermine the American sanctions war against that country. Iran recently forged a rapprochement with Saudi Arabia. The Chinese brokered it, and that has significantly improved Iran's political position, and means that Iran is no longer under the same economic pressures that it was previously. And of course, beyond that, both Saudi Arabia and Iran are due to join the BRICS in January. And of course, as members of the BRICS, and with Iran also joining the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the likelihood is that the entire sanctions regime against Iran is close to collapse. So, given that is so, it looks as if there's a huge hurry now to try to resolve the situation with Iran militarily before all of these things happen, and Iran becomes fully integrated in the BRICS, becomes fully part of the new trading system that is being created, becomes fully integrated with the Shanghai Cooperation Organization before Iran starts to acquire sophisticated new weapons and the Russians, Sukhoi 35 fighters, and all of that, making an attack on Iran impossible. So you bring up the issue of what happened in Israel on the 7th of October. You talk up again the alleged threat of nuclear weapons. You talk about bad actors in the Middle East and attacks on American bases, of which there have been some, but not perhaps on any major scale, and certainly none that appear to involve Iran directly. And then you justify that to launch an attack on Iran to prevent all of these diplomatic moves and this reorientation of Iranian policy and the integration of Iran both into the BRICS and Shanghai system and its rapprochement with the Saudis and with the Arab states.
And there you go. I mean, that's just like a really like perfect. They'll say it a lot easier than I do. They're good with the words and everything, but that's pretty much a perfect explanation of what I felt was coming, like in the beginning of this year. The minute when I saw we were sending more troops to Syria, the minute that I saw Iran and Saudi Arabia started talking, the minute I saw all of this happening under BRICS, there's a constant discussion of BRICS, right? Iran, you hear Lindsey Graham, Iran, if you try it again, we're going to blow up all your oil refineries. Well, damn, why you got to go for their oil refineries, right? Well, not even like we're going to come get your leader, excuse me, it's not, no, it's we got to get your oil refinery. Yeah, because they're going to go get their oil so that Iran can't bring anything to the BRICS deal, because they were one of like the first countries, like beyond the like 5 countries that were already in BRICS, but like they were coming in early, like, yo, we want to be a part of this. So now they don't have any value. It's just easy, right? At least that's what Americans are trying to think. But BRICS, if it's going to be connected, you have these countries connected and they have a plan. They want to come off of this dollar and they're getting closer and closer to it. Let me tell you something. BRICS is not a new thing. They actually started their little coalition back early 2000s. They ramped up under the Biden administration though. So if you have these countries saying we pulling away and they see that one of their main countries that's very valuable to this whole operation is being threatened, where do you think that sends us? Who do you think is going to come back them up? Okay. And so it still brings me back to what, Tucker Carlson was saying when he was like, Russia, he was like, these people will wage a war with Russia just so they could keep the power. Okay. It is absolute insanity. This regime came in, our regime, the Biden regime, came in and totally flipped the world upside down for no reason. When all they had to do was keep continuing to go with the Trump plan, and America would have been flourishing. We could have been number 1 on this. It could have been people didn't want to come off of our dollar, where we stopped bullying people, but we made actual deals with people that benefit America first while still investing in other countries. I'm not afraid of going to other countries and doing a little, hey, let's do a trade real quick. I'll invest in you. Let me see what resources you got so I could come back and enrich my country with it and everything. But I'm not against that at all. But instead, this is why, too, by the way, I have to tell myself that the election was rigged because I'm going to keep it real. It keeps me from yelling at people who thought they voted for Joe Biden. Seriously, it does. It seriously, because I can't even look at these people and take them seriously. What are you going to say? Oh, the adults are back in the White House. The adults are back in the White House. What? What? Look at us. Look at the Middle East. Look at the Middle East. How the hell? All of this, everything that was happening where Trump was trying to get some sort of peace in the Middle East. And yes, he was trying to make moves and he still wasn't done yet. Trump said he wanted to break the biggest deal. That would have been the deal of his life. He said, that ego getting away. I like it. Trump said he wanted to make a deal for the Palestinians and the Israelis to live in peace. He wanted to do it because that would have been, he was like, man, that would have been the deal of all deals. And I believe in his second term, he would have been able to do it. You know, where both sides would have had something that made sense, right? And not this bloodshed that's happening right now. All of it. Not this attack that happened on Saturday, not the attacks from before, you know, like, or some, like, you know, it's just absolute. Yo, voting is so, like, okay, again, I really have to keep telling myself, like, they took it from us because other than that, I seriously, after this situation, I thank God that I did vote for Trump so I could at least talk trash and not be like, I'm sorry, guys, I didn't know they were going to do this. Like, so I still can save face, you know, that I got with it. You know, I got my act together by 2020. But I seriously think that if you should take a civics test in order to vote. I seriously, like, we really going to say that this is free and fair elections? Not every, I know, Casey, this is against the Constitution. I know how I sound. I think that people should take a test in order to vote. I'm not the only person who thinks like this too. It is too dangerous to allow people to willingly go in and put their chucks and pearls on and dance all the way to the, you know, we gonna vote for Kamala. And I know who I'm talking about because these broads were getting on my nerves around that time, okay? We can't have it, yo. It's not voting for fun or I like this person. I think I could have a beer with that president. No. And yes, Metalapi, peace isn't profitable. We're going to get into that. Matter of fact, we might as well go ahead and get into that because that's going to segue us to where we are with this Gaza situation. I want to play a couple things okay, so let me go ahead and pull up on here. History, because I was watching earlier. Stop it. The redacted. Hold on.
There can be, at least we're getting some brutal.
We don't want peace. All of our politicians are paid for by the military-industrial complex. We don't want
air and missile defense for Israel.
Making kids smarter and identifying the areas where they are deficient.
So
400 of you signed up for. Well, get ready, everyone, because the plan is coming together perfectly. The U.S. is prepping for war with Iran.
All right, so this is the redacted. Let me just make sure it's working. All right. This is the redacted. So this is the channel that I watch. Y'all know the redacted. I mean, 2.17 million subscribers. I don't think I have to explain, you know, with Clayton Morris and his wife. This man, he used to work for corporate media. He used to work for Fox News. He's seen the ins and outs of the military-industrial complex and Big Pharma and how they own the anchors and everything. So I think it disgusted him so much to the point where he was like, I gotta go. And he left. So, and I'm gonna subscribe to their newsletter because, you know, they give a lot of information that a lot of people don't get to hear, you know. So, and I like to get as much information as possible so I can know what's going on. You know, I thank God for this talent of being able to assess things for the appropriate way that they are showing themselves. So that's the talent that God gave me, and I thank God for it. So I want to do my due diligence to get as much, you know, information as I can. So what they're going to share with us now is this leaked conversation with Raytheon and some Wall Street, you know, associate. All right, so they'll explain it. Okay.
We'll get to that part of the story in a second. But first, war is really good for business. I don't know if you've gotten the memo or not. I mean, really, really good for business. If you are Raytheon, by the way, or any other defense contractor, you're making boku bucks right now. Raytheon held their quarterly earnings phone call. These are always fascinating to listen into. And a Wall Street analyst was on the call, as they always are. They want to know how well they're performing, of course. And this analyst, the Morgan Stanley analyst, pointed out that war in Israel and Ukraine seems like it's great for your business. Can you give us some numbers and understanding about exactly how it's going to perform? And Raytheon's executives agreed and then showed us just how much money they will make off of this war. I just want you to listen to how sort of sterile this conversation is from a Wall Street analyst and a Raytheon executive. This is unbelievable.
Christine Lewog of Morgan Stanley.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Morning, Christine.
So maybe moving to a defense question. You know, the White House is requesting $106 billion in supplemental spending for a number of national security priorities, which includes over $50 billion in investment for the U.S. defense industrial base. Looking at this request, you've got equipment for Ukraine, air and missile defense for Israel, and replenishment of stockpile for both. And this seems to fit quite nicely with the Raytheon defense portfolio.
It's nice.
So how much of this opportunity is addressable to the company? And if the dollars are appropriated, when would be the earliest you could see this convert to revenue?
Yeah, how quickly are you going to make money?
Christine, let me start on that. So
Wait a minute. Hold on. You hear that? Like these people tell you who they are. They're like, yeah, okay, we got all the weapons. You got all the weapons coming. So how fast is it going to take for you to get the money? Like, damn. Like, people will die. And look, and I'm not a child, right? I get it. But wow. Okay.
So, as I think I mentioned earlier in the conversation, we've seen about $3 billion of orders so far related to Ukraine replenishment. And that's really replenishing U.S. war stocks. We expect another $4 billion of orders in the next 2 years. And most of that will play out over the next 24 to 36 months in terms of delivery. So you won't see a big revenue pop even next year from this. As we think about this next tranche, the president's $100+ billion request, which is more than $40 billion for Ukraine, what you're going to see is the same things that we have been seeing, but in much higher quantities. So obviously, NASAM systems, which is the short-range air defense system, and the AMRAAM munitions that we're using there, we're going to see those orders pick up, we would think, significantly. The same is true with the Patriot air defense system. Again, those are GEM-T missiles that we supply for that. Those are in short supply today. So again, big ramp there.
Yeah, big ramp up there. So, all of this is great for us here at Raytheon. So this is just follow the money, folks. We are all being played in this situation.
Absolutely, we are. We are. He is right. We are. I mean, that's the thing. It's like it's they don't care. Like they don't care. So everybody's making money. Listen, that's one department that you have to have a war in order to make money, right? At least Big Pharma, this is so despotic what I'm about to say. People always get sick, especially with that shot. People are always going to get sick, right? So you have the money train that's coming. You're not depending on this need, So it's like, supply and demand. Well, you're making a bunch of weapons. I'm making a bunch of weapons and nobody's in war. Now I'm not making any money. So we got to lobby the government. We got to own the government so we could start these wars. And then we give them a little bit of the money too. Lord have mercy. Okay. Like it's crazy. Melanie, there is war footage from Ukraine. Ukraine war footage is actually, not to say boring, but they actually fight like on a war territory. I used to cover it a lot here. They fight like in territorial areas, mostly for war and all that. But unfortunately with Gaza, the reason why you see a lot with Gaza, it is because it's more of a residential area. So I think that's why a lot more people are talking about it. But lately I had started talking about the Ukrainian genocide. That's 500,000 Ukrainians have been killed, not just in this war, but since 2014. Clayton Morris goes on to talk about that. Why? And then this war, when you hear Lindsey Graham say to the last Ukrainian, it's like, yeah, what does that mean? Just because too, by the way, we're like not talking about Ukraine as much anymore. It's still happening. They're still fighting. They send these Ukrainians to die. It's terrible. It's terrible. They're people too. I started realizing this the other day when I heard that the life expectancy, not the other day, for a while now I've been thinking about it, like the life expectancy for a soldier in the front lines for Ukrainian is 4 hours. And I heard it got less than 4 hours because they're bringing in people too who don't know what they're not fighters. The last I heard, they were getting like 16-year-old girls and they grab you and be like, oh, all right, you're in the army now. You're drafted. And this is all America. Let's send our little brother to go fight. We got you. We got your back, way back. You hear them. Well, Ukraine is fighting our fight, so you don't have to. You don't want your troops or your kids on the ground, so Ukraine will do it. How like morbid is that? We send them to. I don't want this. I don't even want them to do it. I don't want them to do it. What? It's like, okay, we're just gonna do like this. Oh, we ran out of Ukrainians. Time for you to get in there. I thought you said they were fighting a war. Well, we got to the last Ukrainian. So what did you think was going to happen? We were going to stop after we got to the last Ukrainian? There's a whole connection too with that war with what we're seeing in Israel. That's a whole, for me to put that program together, I definitely am getting my information, and it has to be done in a very calm and concise way. I can't even say when I say it, because it is so huge what I'm connecting and actually finding the evidence for. It's really mind-blowing, but I can't just say like this is what's happening. It's what appears. It's all connected. It's all connected. So all right, now we're gonna go into Josh Paul. So I'm gonna show you Josh Paul, and then we're gonna get into like Twitter and see what's going on with exactly, with the invasion in Gaza. Yeah, we should be happy. Yeah, Melanie said, Casey, right? Casey and McConnell saying selling their bodies. We should be happy because it is creating for jobs here because the meat mashing machines are made here. What the fuck? Like, whoa. Yeah, like you see, like that's just a lot. These people, they don't care. And then they get these old people too, by the way. Mitch McConnell. This man has a staring match with the camera every chance he gets on it. Yes, I'm saying it like that. And I'm a nurse and I'm saying it like that. Like, I don't know how else to make it very clear. This guy's having focal seizures constantly on camera, and he's making decisions with our lives. These people are 175 years old, man. They don't care. We could nuke America. They don't care. They're going anyway, right? Like, bro, man, I got a future. These kids have a future. They have goals. They want to beat the Roblox game or whatever. Like, damn, can they at least do that? Insane, yo. It's insane. History Legends. That's a good channel too. History Legends is definitely a very good channel. They took Jackson Hinkle off of YouTube. They totally nuked this channel. It's insane, actually. All right. Let me bring up for you guys here. What I'm showing you here is Josh Paul. Josh Paul, we're going to listen to this interview. This man has worked in the Department of the State Department doing arms transfer packages for many countries for 11 years until he finally seen the package that made him say, I got to get out of here. Okay. And that was after October 7th. What is going on? So it is very important that we hear these things because it lets you know, like, this isn't going to really end anytime soon. But I'm not predicting anything. I'm praying that something happens, but we have to understand to be prepared. All right, let me play Josh Paul. He's going to tell you who he is, what he does, everything.
The Department's Bureau of Political Military Affairs is responsible for most arms transfers to American allies and partners. And for more than 11 years, Josh Paul ran its Congressional and Public Affairs Office. He wrote in his public resignation letter this week, he knew his job was not, quote, without moral compromise, but calls the transfer of weapons to Israel, quote, short-sighted, destructive, and unjust. And Josh Paul joins me now. Thank you very much. Welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
To the NewsHour. So why are weapons transfers to Israel in this moment unjust?
So let's back up and recognize what we're talking about. We're talking about the transfer of arms that can last for decades, whose purpose is to kill. That's an obvious point, but it underlines the gravity of the decisions that we make every single day.
So he's talking about transfer of arms, okay? Not just little guns, like all kinds of ships and all kinds of things that I don't know about, but big transfers.
In the US government, in the State Department. Recognizing that, the Biden administration earlier this year issued a conventional arms transfer policy, which raised the standard for the transfer of weapons to what they call a more likely than not. If it is more likely than not that weapons the US provides to another country will be used for violations of human rights, they will not be transferred. What we've seen with Israel repeatedly in operations in Gaza. So
basically he's saying like there is a level where it's like, more likely than not, like it's above anything that makes sense. So it could be a crime to humanity. So technically, we don't really just send it out to them.
2009, in 2014, 2021, is massive civilian casualties, thousands of Palestinians killed through a relatively indiscriminate use of bombs to destroy buildings. And yet, in this context of this,
and I also want you to hear that he said that, like, for the people who are saying, like, oh, that this is because Hamas on October 7th. This is what I'm telling you. The history of this situation is very messy, and I'm mad at a lot of influencers who keep saying this, especially, like, I'm sorry, like a Tim Pool. I respect him. He's done a lot. This man has gone to other countries on his own dime and seen what war looks like. Okay. He knows the grittiness of it, and he knows the history of a lot of this stuff. He chooses to act like he doesn't know with this situation. I don't know why. This is very important. When you have a platform, even if one person is watching you, you have to give them as much of your integrity, as much of the truth as you know. And the fact is, this is a messy history that I don't fully understand, but I know did not start on October 7th. That he just said, like, you know, Israel's been getting bombs from America since 2009, 2014. And he said they've killed massive civilians. I mean, this is the truth. Like, and I'm talking to people who are on Twitter with me who are like, this is because Hamas. And I'm like, yo, man, how are you? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we need to be more, you know, like, let's be honest. Like, don't gaslight me, okay? Don't. I see it for what it is, you know? I'm not condemning the people of Israel. I'm not condemning the regular American Jewish person who's sitting at home trying to get, you know, take care of their children, cooking dinner, praying tonight. You know, they don't know about this stuff. They didn't call up Netanyahu and whoever else and tell them to start bombing Gaza. I'm not blaming anybody. This is what countries do. This is what corruption is.
This conflict today, where we've already seen, again, thousands of Palestinian casualties, there has been no policy debate. Indeed, there's been a rush to provide arms where normally there is discussion, consideration, and thought.
So the Israeli Defense Forces, I should say that they only target Hamas officials, Hamas weapons, and rocket launch sites. It sounds like what you said at the end there is one of your key criticisms. Did you raise your concerns within state, and what was the response?
I raised them, in fact, as soon as 2 days after the Hamas atrocity. And let me just be clear, that was an atrocity and an outrage, full stop, period, no further caveats. Shortly after that, I raised concerns that, look, we've seen that for 20 years, the provision of security assistance to Israel, and for longer than that, has not led to peace. And instead, it has used the way it has employed that security is actually led us further from peace. And so I wrote to a number of leaders within the department 2 days after Hamas's attack and said, you know, I recognize that there's going to be a demand signal for arms to Israel. Can't we for once stop and think about if this is actually getting us to where we need to be before we move forward?
And what was the response?
No response.
And how unusual is that?
It's extremely unusual. You know, if you think about other countries in the region, I won't name names, but there are obviously a number where there are troubling human rights records. And the debate over arms sales requests that come from those countries can last within the administration itself for months, sometimes even years.
During your time, though, the United States, for example, I will name names, provided arms to Egypt, widely criticized for its human rights abuses, and to the Saudi coalition that has killed many civilians in Yemen and accused of violating the laws of war by Human Rights Watch. Why do you not resign after those arms transfers?
Because those were cases where I could make a difference and manage through my work and the work of many others in the department to add some elements to it. So, for example, there is a training program that has been going on now with Saudi pilots to improve their targeting. And in the case of Egypt, of course, we have, you know, Leahy vetting, where units that are identified to be involved in gross violation of human rights are not eligible to receive US weapons. There is a Leahy vetting process for Israel. It has never found an Israeli unit to be guilty of a gross violation of human rights. It's a broken system.
Okay, well, you could argue that isn't that proof that the vetting that State Department does do, you say, of the Israel's defense forces have not found a violation of Leahy? Does that mean that they don't violate?
Well, they've identified many, but they have not been able to come to a conclusion, which requires senior level sign-off within the department.
Just to be clear, are you saying that there have been units inside Israel's defense force that the State Department has been concerned about?
Yes.
Their violations or their actions. You've brought that to senior officials, and over the years, consistently, they have not acted on
that. That is correct.
If he knows that, by the way, our enemies or whatever you want to call them, they know that too. Like, I'm not trying. Like, there's laws and stuff to war, you know, like global laws that are supposed to be followed in war. They know that this particular country and many others, I'm sure, but this one doesn't get scrutinized, and things are happening that are outside of the bounds. So when I hear people on Twitter telling me like, well, everything, you know, war, everything is okay in war or whatever, this is war. And yes, it is. And Melanie, you're right. Yeah, war is bad. That's why we don't want one, especially us over here in America. Because like I said, I can't even handle high traffic. So I know I'm not prepared. You know, like, this is why people need to understand like what's really going on and what's going into all of this. You know, this is why I'm trying to bring as much information, you know. But the fact is, because we are implicated by proxy, more than by proxy, by like, just here you go. Here's a bunch of ammunition. Go drop it however you want to. How perception is reality. You know what? Somebody said on Twitter, right now, this particular country is acting like your crazy drunk friend at a bar, you know, who drags you into a fight that you didn't want to be in. That's what I mean. And I feel like I wouldn't do that to my friend. Like, I would know, like, this is going to implicate my friend if I do too much. You know what I mean? Like, let me go in. And this is my issue too. People say, well, shouldn't they be able to have retaliation? What are they supposed to do? You're right. They are supposed to, with tactical, some sort of force going. Why is it that Hamas leader is doing interviews? Go get him. Go get him. Didn't Trump get General Soleimani? Right? Didn't he send something? I mean, okay. I'm not making plans. Let me just be careful. Like, you're not just in your living room. You're being aired out, right? So I'm just saying, right? There's another way. You get the head of the snake that takes care of everything else. And then furthermore, then you get a couple of the members or whatever. If this is what you're really trying to do, that's what I'm saying. There's got to be a different way, right?
These questions, of course, were put to Matt Miller, the State Department spokesman, earlier today. Let's take a listen to what he said.
We comply with all applicable statutory requirements and regulatory requirements in our provision of military assistance to Israel, as we do to every other country in the world.
Isn't that what the U.S. pushes, and isn't that the policy?
I think that is right. We have complied with the laws. The problem is that the laws are intentionally vague in some cases. So, for example, they require a determination that something has happened in terms of gross violation of human rights before sanctions, as they were, could be applied. So, yes, absolutely, we are acting within the law. The question is that good enough? And we are certainly not acting within the conventional arms transfer policy.
Finally, you have deep experience in the region. You have connections throughout the region. Do those connections drive your opinion on this?
They certainly drive a lot of my passion. But I think at the end of the day, what has driven me throughout my service in the Political Military Affairs Bureau is a passion for human rights, something that has compelled me always to look at those issues and to carry them forward as something that we need to do better on and can do better on.
Josh Paul, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So what happens is you get to a certain age. I'm going to answer the rest of that for him. You know, you get to a certain age. He's been in the game for about 11 years, right? So 11 years, you know, when you go in young, you know, you're like, yeah, I'm sending these weapons, boy. I don't care. Da, da, da. You get to a certain age, you start to be like, I don't know. And you start to actually analyze things. And I hope people get to that point in their life. You should question things. This man was working there for 11 years and he said, like, oh, done. You know, like, it's just insane. And that's what I said. Like, I mean, and just like you just said, Melanie, like, I mean, I just keep on like, we could have gotten bin Laden without a war and did eventually in Pakistan, who, by the way, got land from India and they're still invading them. LOL. Okay. Like, yeah, we could have. We could have. We know this. Like, the American people know this too. You know, like they for the most part, it's like, how long, right? So, you know, that was Josh, and let me see. Let me see what we got happening here. Let's listen to real quick a little bit of Mario Nafal, who is telling us about, I'm sure, who's going into like the details of this war. And I have, I'm trying to think, as far as if they listen, Israel, all right, look, the lights are off and everything in Gaza, and they're bombing. All right, they cut off communication, they cut off everything because they control everything, so they cut off everything, and they're bombing, bomb, bomb, bomb. Look, I get it, man. Somebody run up in my house and end my family. I want to end some people too. I'm just asking, like, what? So, what is the end goal? What is the end goal? Because yesterday's number was about 6,000 Palestinians who were dead, 2,500 of them being children. So, like, like, oh yeah, all is fair in love and war and all, but like, bro, like, I mean, like, I think it was about altogether 1,400 Israelis who were killed, children, babies, everything. That is horrendous. That is absolutely horrendous. But if we're doing an eye for an eye, because now I have to believe that's what we're doing, like so did we get to the amount? The answer keeps being, well, Hamas has, they have headquarters in all of these buildings. And it's like, then go in and what's going on? Dismantle the headquarters. There's got to be a better way. There kind of has to be. It's like, oh, well, to get the one Hamas guy, and out of 6,000 people that are dead, I haven't heard the names of the Hamas people who've been caught. Like, okay, we got Al Saluddin Kadin, we got him, we got Tahajuddin Elohim, whatever. I don't hear anything. I'm just hearing like, excuse me, ended. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think 2,500 kids was Hamas. That's what I have a problem with. There's no clear implications, There's no clear implications on what we are doing here. So when I say to people, oh, but this is a genocide, and they're like, it's not a genocide. And I'm like, well, when do we get to call it? So are we going to be 2 months into this bombing and we don't, like, I'm not trying to, like, we're supposed to call it that now so we can at least stop. If you don't want to call it that, that's fine. You don't have to, but I am. I am, because I don't need to see another 10,000 die in order to call, like, bro, like, what's the plan? You have to have a plan. And I don't believe in this, well, they should have got Hamas out of there. People can say that about us then. Your American establishment is going in and change that. Look at Libya. When Barack Obama was so hyped, Muammar Gaddafi. And then all of a sudden, Muammar Gaddafi said Libya has slave trades today. That's what I say about Black Americans. Like, yo, shut up, bro. Like, you do not even live in Libya, bro. Like, y'all are already like, stop this, okay? Stop it. But anyway, they have slave trades today, right? Because of what America did when they did regime change over there. Yes. So I pray to God nobody comes and thinks that, well, you should have got rid of your establishment. This is what I mean, y'all. So this is why I say what I say. This is why I'm forced now where, I've been accused of Jew hatred and all kinds of anti-Semitism. And I'm like, you're just going to have to call me these names because I'm going to ask the questions that need to be asked. I don't know Netanyahu. I don't care. I'm going to ask the questions. Just like Melody said, what I have a hard time accepting is that our government, who spies on everyone 24/7, didn't know this attack on Israel was being planned. Yes, and I heard that it was being planned for 2 years. So I'm confused by the same Hamas that everybody has had a chance to fund, America and Israel. There's a lot of questions we are allowed to ask. Dennis Prager says, yes, we should ask those questions. Now is not the time. Sometimes people mess up. That's easy for you to say, but we're being dragged in to a war because of our best friend who got drunk and hit the wrong person. I need a little more, guys. I'm just saying, I need a little more. I think it's okay to ask. I don't hate people just because I want to know. We can't do it. We can't do it. And when I listen to Vivek and Elon Musk talking, they're like, guys, like we're like sleepwalking into a World War III. I'm like, we're pretty much already there. We have our own issue with Iran and this thing is happening. I'm like, yo, man. And China sent warships over to that area. Man. Yeah, I gotta look into SEAL Team 6. It's just so much. They lied to us so much. All right, let's see what Mario has going on for us. Sometimes I like to get in here and see what he's saying.
Hey, you slowly catch your monkey, right? this is not going to be a blitz. This is going to be the second Battle of Fallujah by molasses.
Yeah, the difference is the AO is so much smaller and it can be parsed so much differently, right, Malcolm?
Yeah,
It's much different. This
God,
is most of
terrible.
I mean, this is a very, very, very concentrated AO. They've spent the last 3 weeks. Bob and their uncle have done everything. I mean, the amount of airstrikes, the amount of air operations and sorties flown. They didn't do this to bomb hospitals. They did this to hit the tunnels, to hit the ingress and egress routes. I think it's a new dawn, but we'll see, right? The proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
So
you know, I'm
there's
not.
so,
Go
so I
ahead.
want to compare this, and I'll go to you, Alex, and others. But first, where are you? Ali's there, but Roland, are you there? Roland, if you're not there now, I'm not going to bring you back
I'm
up.
here.
It seems to be glitching a lot. Oh, perfect. Good. Look, you said earlier you're in Lebanon, Roland. Why are you still in Lebanon?
No, I actually came back because we had the medical situation with the family. So I've been here for the last 7 months or so.
Okay, so this is
wow. And are you looking at potentially evacuating? Like, when would you?
Okay, all right. So anyway, but you hear the explanation? Like, listen, man, look, this thing is happening. I can't control it. I can't stop it. I don't expect myself to stop it. But you hear the person like, well, they're bombing hospitals, but that's because the tunnel's underground. Okay, them tunnels are all under the whole ground. So what are you gonna bomb the whole? I just don't. And God bless Ustav. He's a good person. Please provide proof that Israel is intentionally targeting civilians and that they're not doing nothing to mitigate the loss of civilians. The over 6,000 that have died already, let me know that. The rubble, them saying evacuate. This is why I go back and forth with people on this subject, because we seem to be very like short-sighted or something, or just one-dimensional, where I'm like, yeah, okay, evacuate. Evacuate to where? Where? The thing is no bigger than Philadelphia, and there's like 2 million of them, right? Okay, so I'm gonna go to South Philly when there's already millions of us. Evacuate to where exactly, right? Well, they told them to evacuate. Come on, don't gaslight me, man. Just at least say, like, the same way how, Moshe Dayan said back in 1950 something that they can never get caught sleeping again. They always have to be on ready. When their General Rutenberg was killed by people in Gaza, they brought his body in Gaza, and then they gave it back to the Israelis, and then they buried him. And then Moshe Dayan, who was chief of staff back then, and he said, I don't blame the murderers. He said, I blame us, because we were busy, we let our guard down, and we can never let it happen again. So if he had enough chutzpah, enough balls to tell the truth, don't gaslight me and tell me that that's not what's happening now. Netanyahu says we got to wipe away the dark. That's a problem for me. That I can't be involved with that kind of talk. But anyway, my money is though, right? My inflation, because not taxes, because my tax dollars were spent before I was born, apparently. The inflation, all of it, we are implicated in this. It's just like, it's a lot. So I hope this is not okay. Yeah, it's still the same thing about civilians die in war and everything else. But like I said, the fact is, let me see if I had grabbed anything on the bookmarks for y'all. I'm about to get ready to wrap this up. So, okay, this is from Patrick. Another thing about Iran, the last time we overthrew their government, the people over them and Iran got over. You see, that's what always happens, right, Melanie? We're gonna go save people. Stuff gets messed up. And the American person at home, again, is like, I didn't want to save anybody. We need to save people here. We have enough problems here to take care of. This is Patrick Henningsen, 21. This man is an investigative journalist, been a journalist for years, probably since I've been a little girl or something, like years, okay? And he says the aggression on Gaza Strip, 20th day, 7,028 Palestinians have been killed, 731 massacres. We got injuries and stuff, hospitals that have been bombed. I don't know why everybody went off about this one hospital. They said they were going to bomb hospitals. They bombed hospitals already. Now, that's what I'm doing here, is debunking like this whole thing about, no, they didn't say it. Guys, it's war, right? Although this is not war though, like this is just crazy because for all they call, Putin bad, he doesn't do this in residential areas. Like I don't, and America should have definitely went in by now to say enough. Let's really get the leaders since we're implicated. But every time they try to pass a resolution to say ceasefire, America votes against it all the time. But why wouldn't they? You heard the guy from Raytheon. You heard what he said. He said, we're about to get that bread, bro, for years. We at least 2 years in the game with our stocks rising up. You know what I mean? So it's not going to stop, right? Okay. So that's where it's at, So pretty much going to end it right here. Like I said, I wanted to come on here and discuss where we're kind of at. But in the end, I always try to leave off with some positive news because, like I said, this is not a channel for fear mongering, but we deal with the inconvenient truth. Like I keep saying, we know something's happening. We know that things can get a little hysterical. Everybody probably forgets the gas situation from 2021. I didn't forget because I said, wait a minute, what am I back in Haiti? When we ran out of gas because they said we had a cyber attack at our gas. What was it? The gas, wherever they get gas from, their reserves. They said we had a cyber attack, so we can't send the gas through the pipelines. And people started putting gas in plastic bags in their trunks and stuff, about to level their whole neighborhoods and stuff. I didn't forget that because when that happened, I said, Lord have mercy. We need Trump back. This is Haiti. In Haiti, they don't have gas in the gas stations. Like people, when they get a little bit of gas, like you'll get people who like get the gas and put it in buckets and they cut it with water so that they could sell it on the street. Street gas is dirty. That stuff doesn't make sense to you, right? When you hear it, like, what? Street gas, right? Yeah, it didn't make sense to me either. When I saw it, I was like, what is that? Like, street gas, and just go to the gas station. Like, nah, it's just not that simple. So when I saw that we ran out of gas here, I was like, what in the hell? And then there were people on the news putting gas in plastic bags and taking it home. Okay, ready to level the whole block. So that's why I always use that as an example. When you know better, you do better. So we don't need to get all insane and start pouring gas into plastic bags and doing things like that. We prepare, we try to put a little bit aside, make sure you have, your toilet paper and stuff. We don't need to get crazy like COVID, because next thing you know, the supply chain, well, because we can't get things through the Black Sea, we're not going to be able to, we're not going to be able to get the stuff to you, Hey, you already know you got your rice in the cabinet. Like, this is how you have to prepare, because we can't stop it. Although I am going to start calling my congressman. My congressman, he blocked me on Twitter because I kept asking him about the border, because he kept calling Republicans racist about the border. And I was like, stop that right now. This doesn't even sound like you. You doing this because you want attention. Like, why? And I kept like pestering him, and all of a sudden he blocked me. Can you imagine? So, but I'm about to start calling up there and be like, yeah, we're about to be involved in about 3 or 4 wars. Oh, by the way, they're sending money to Taiwan to get that started. It's a lot. So I don't want this. Yeah, I'm about to start doing that. But in the meantime, I'm not saying like I expect everybody to do that. I think it's a good idea to at least give your congressman a phone call here and there. Like, I don't feel represented, guys. Taxation without representation. I thought that was some sort of crime or something. But again, we take care of our families. We connect to our creator. We take care of the ones we love. And we make sure we're well taken care of, supplies and everything. Take deep breaths. Enjoy your weekend. Over here, it's supposed to be cold, but it's not. It feels really good. So I'm going to enjoy my Saturday. I'm going to try to come back again on Sunday with something fun. But this is what we do. This is what we do here. I really appreciate you saying that. You're everyone, KC. Keep being based, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Labels like anti-Semitic, Islamophobic, or racism. yeah. I was like, that's what I kept saying. I was like, yo, y'all stop using that word anti-Semitic, please. They already use racism to the point where I laugh about it now. Don't do this with this word anti-Semitic. Now, and Melody, though, we was on Twitter. They just everything. A Jew hater. I'm like, oh my God. Like, no, guys, that's not what it is. It's just insane. Like, it's insane. Sweden cuts its gas with alcohol. Right. Yeah, and that's how you could ruin the gas. I think that's what Haitians cut it with too. Haiti got the Clinton Foundation, LOL, Bidens were there too. Yeah, those poor people didn't have a chance. They were being robbed left and right. LOL. And you know what? They went under the guise of build back better. Yeah, that was the slogan in 2012, build back better. And then we had the Inflation Reduction Act, which really is the build back better plan. Yeah, man, it's always connected. The patterns, it's always connected. You know what I'm saying? It always is. I thought you could sue over. Yeah. Like, yeah. And that's why I'm about to start my paper trail or something. Like, I'm not being represented. My congressman doesn't want to talk to me. He literally blocked me. So I don't want to pay taxes anymore. What's the point? You know? Plus, my money keeps going to non-citizens. Okay. Name calling never works. It doesn't, because it becomes a joke, especially with somebody like me. I'm insane. You keep calling me a name, it's going to desensitize me. I'll be like, guys, don't let me unleash. Okay. I can get a little crazy. Okay. It's like, all right. So let me go ahead and go, guys. I will see you guys soon. And yeah, I'll see you guys soon. Thank you, everybody, for coming through. I'll see you guys at the next one. Bye.